All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
It is a sticky and hot Friday night here in Huntington. It is truly summer right now. But you know what? I'll take it over the rain. I'll take it over the hail, the sleet, whatever. But so we're here and it's air conditioned. So if you need a reason to come, we've got conditioned air and it works. We paid the bills this month. So it'll be on all weekend. So come down and join us. We have Marilyn. She's going to bench licht for us this evening.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotsav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbos.
Thank you. All right, let's turn to page 9. Page 9, and let's have a responsive reading in English. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. All right, let's continue welcoming Shabbat with a song. On page 20 and 21, we'll find Lecha Dodi from the mystical city of Sfat, from the Kabbalists who were either directly affected by the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492 or their direct descendants. So Sfat has a lot of history to it. Top of page 20. Lecha Dodi ligrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi ligrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor Zachor B'dibor Echad, Ishmi'anu El HaMichad, Adonai Echad U'Shmo Echad, L'Shem U'Tiferet V'Litila, Lecha Dodi ligrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Ligrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki mekor ha'bracha, merosh mikedem nehesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila, lecha dodi ligrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzehi mitoch ha'fecha, rav lahak shevet b'yemecha b'cha, v'hu yachamol alai chemla, lecha dodi ligrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Ari me'afar kumi, lipshi bigdei tifarte chami, al yad b'ni shai beitalachmi, korva el nafshi ge'ala, lecha dodi ligrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Hitorari, Kiva orek kumi ori, shir daveri, Kvod Adonai alai nidla, lecha dodi ligrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nikabela, lo tevoshi, v'lo tikolni, Mahatish tochachi matehemi, bach yechesu, anieh ami, ונפנתה יראה תילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, והיו לשמשה שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כי המסוס חתן על כלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן ארצי, בני שמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובשולה, תוך אמוני גם סגולה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Let's turn the page to 22 for some verses from 92, the psalm designated for Shabbat. Let's read the outdented paragraph in English together. A song for Shabbat. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a 10-stringed harp, with voice and lyre together. You have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this. Tzadik katamar yivrach, Erez malvadon Yiske shetuli bebeit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yahafrichu o genuvun b'sema B'shenim ve'ra'ananim yihiyu lehagim ki ashar Adonai tzuri ve'lo aflatavo. Let's complete our Kabbalat Shabbat, our welcoming of Shabbat on page 24, as we welcome the angels who come to spend Shabbat with us. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Ashare, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Baruch l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Seifem l'shalom malachei hashalom malachei elyon. Mi melech malachei amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Shabbat is with us And we are going to turn to page 146. 146, the beginning of the Arvit service for Shabbat, the evening service. Page 146, Baruch Hu. I'll ask everyone please rise. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. Page 147. Let's read together at the bottom. Adonai, your majesty is proclaimed by the marvels of earth and sky. Sun, moon, and stars testify to your powers and wisdom. Day follows day in endless succession, and the years vanish. But your sovereignty endures. Though all things pass, let not your glory depart from us. Help us to become co-workers with you, and endow our fleeting days with abiding work. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Top of 148. Avat olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadimta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu B'shofteinu uvkumeinu Nasiach bechukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha Uv'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed Ki heim chayenu V'yorech yameinu V'yorech yameinu Uvahem negeh Yomam v'layla Yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatech al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. V'ahavta ha'et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu advarim ha'eleh Asher nochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uvkumecha ukshartam le'od al yadecha V'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha uchtavta al mizuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeruhu v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 151. Let's read responsively. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Before our eyes, there's a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. When will redemption come? Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. Top of 152. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, No grati lo, O Seifele, Malchutecha ra'u banecha, Bokeyam lifnei Moshe, Zeili anu v'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam v'ohed, V'nehemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov, Uga'alo miad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Top of 153, the top two lines of Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Ve'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. And let's read together in English. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, Aporei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Amo Yisrael, V'al Yerushalayim. Top of 154, Vishamru. Vishamru V'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Le'dorotam B'rita Olam. Vishamru V'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Le'dorotam B'rita Olam. Beini uvein B'nei Yisrael, Oti li'olam. V'shamru B'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, La'asot B'shit Yamim, Asa Adonai, Et HaShamayim, V'et ha'aretz, V'shamru B'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Le'dorotam b'rita olam. U'bayom hashvi'i, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, V'shamru B'nei Yisrael, Et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Le'dorotam b'rita olam. We are at the central prayer of the evening service, the Amidah. Pages 155, 156, and 157 we will chant together, and then we'll go silently as you finish the Amidah. You can finish it in the Hebrew, you can finish it reading the English translations, or offering up your own meditative prayer at that time. Let's get everyone please rise. Page 155, we begin. Adonai sifatai tivtach, ufi agiti lefecha. Adonai ufi agiti lefecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor, V'Hanokah,
אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא אל בניהם, למען שלו באהבה, מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, יזרח שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה את מטרה להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעם גיבורו, ומגדול מלך, מלך מבין ומחייב, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות נתיב, ברוך אתה אדוני, בחיי אמן.
You're still completing your Amidah? Please take your time. We're going to be on page 160 in the middle. Let's read these words together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. A little bit of Hoda'ah on page 163, a little bit of thanksgiving. Also, Hakarat Tov, recognizing the good. And to be thankful or to be grateful doesn't have to be a big ticket item, although it can be. I mean, it could be that you like the weather here and it's very nice. It could be that today my friends Aubrey and Jocelyn are here. And so I hadn't seen them since camp, and that was so long ago. But they're here, they're sitting in the back. But it could just be about anything that that you're happy and thankful for. So on top of 163, let's read responsibly. For the good in us, which calls us to a better life, we give thanks.
Which is roll in our hearts and our hands, we offer praise.
For the desire in us, which leads us to work for peace, we are grateful.
Life and nature, harmony and beauty, eternal hope tomorrow. All praise to the source of being.
And we'll close out our evening Amidah with a prayer for peace. In the evening, it is Shalom Rav, 164. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Lamcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Lamcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki
atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rahava Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahava Yisrael Hamcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha livarech et amcha Yisrael Bechol eitu bechol shah bishlomecha. Shalom Rahava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rahava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Praise you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. We're going to jump ahead to page 253 for one of our prayers for healing, the Misha Berach prayer. If you have anyone who needs a little extra healing, please keep them in your thoughts and close to your heart. And then after Shabbat or early next week, reach out to them and let them know that you've been thinking about them. Middle of page 253, we prepare for Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
All right, let's turn to page 258 and 259, prayers of our community and for our congregation. Our president, White, please.
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us. Love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levacha b'yirah na'amod. Sharon, one of the prayers for our country, please, either thus says or O guardian. You, please. Sharon.
Thus said Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry, and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness.
Amen.
Shalu shalom Yerushalayim, yishlayu ohavayich. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. Avinu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael, V'goalo, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Smichat Ulatenu, Hagen Aleha B'Yavrat Chasdecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Oracha V'Amitecha L'Rasheha, Sareha V'Yoetzeha, V'Takmim Be'etzah Tova Milfanecha, V'Natata Shalom Ba'aretz, V'Simchat Olam Liyoshveha, V'Nomar
Amen.
Amen. Dennis, how about in English, please?
O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the drawing of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love, spread over it the canopy of your peace, and send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all for reading. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos.
Good job.
It is Parshat Pinchas this week, and it picks up right where last week's left off. Last week's Parsha. Pinchas kills two people, Zimri and Cosbi, in a tent, and he's kind of an interesting character. God rewards his zeal, the zeal of Pinchas, with a brit shalom, with a pact or a covenant of peace. But when you see the word shalom written in the Torah scroll, the vav in the word shalom is broken. And it means that there's going to be an uneasy peace with Pinchas, because while he did something important, something that was necessary, he was a bit of a vigilante. He was a bit of a loose cannon. And so that broken vav is symbolic of his behavior. But he gets promised that his descendants will hold the priesthood for all time. Moshe is then commanded to attack the Midianites for luring Bnei Yisrael to worship Baal Peor. Right, this is what gets them in a lot of trouble. And there's a plague that falls on Bnei Yisrael. And after the plague, a census is taken, and there are 6,100 and 730. I have no idea how to read that number. It's a weird number. 601,730 men over the age of 27 who could fight. Moshe then announces that as they are getting closer and closer to the land, but they're not going to be there for 40 years, they're going to divide the land proportionally. The larger tribes are going to get larger pieces of the land. Smaller tribes will get smaller pieces. But each individual member of whatever tribe, they will all get parcels or lots of equal size. All right, so this is how the land is going to be divided. The Levites, well, they're not going to get any land, and there's 23,000 of them, but they will be compensated with money. They will be compensated for their service in the temple. Then we have one of my favorite stories in the entire Bible, Banot Salafachad, the daughters of Salafachad. Salafachad was traditionally the fellow who was caught gathering wood on Shabbat, and he was taken out and stoned to death. And he had 5 daughters and 0 sons. He had Machla, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. Five daughters. And they hear Moshe setting up how the land is going to be divided. And they realize that their family isn't going to get any land because there's no son, there's no father, there's no male. And so the daughters get together and they say, well, this is a problem now, isn't it? And instead of behaving like Korach from a number of weeks ago and calling out Moshe publicly and complaining, instead of acting like Aharon and Miriam, whispering behind Moshe's back and saying all sorts of stuff, the daughters approach Moshe and say, listen, our father died, and due to no fault of his and no fault of ours, there's no sons. And we think this is unfair. So could you please look into this? Well, nobody has ever asked Moshe a question like that before. They usually yell at him or try to embarrass him. And so he goes to God, and God says, you know what? They're right. They are right. So they should be able to inherit. So if there are no sons and the father is dead, they can inherit the land. And this is a tremendously revolutionary idea. Nowhere else in the Middle East, nowhere else in the ancient Middle East would women be able to inherit this way. I mean, they would be able to even approach the leader to ask that. And like with all great ideas, a bunch of people complain. And so they have to rework it a little bit. Ultimately, the 5 sisters get what they want, and it rings true. However, if a daughter who has inherited because there were no other males marries someone outside of her tribe, she forfeits her tribal land and moves on to her husband's acreage or homestead, or however you want to put it. That was the big complaint, is that if these women inherit and they marry outside the tribe, other tribes are going to start amassing land that doesn't really belong to them. And so it was a nice compromise. And the women in the ancient Middle East, we don't usually have a lot of women's names that are remembered. And we have these 5 daughters, these 5 sisters, who really did something revolutionary. And they did it the right way. They teach us how to address problems, not by screaming, not by offering no solutions, not by whispering behind backs, but going up to the leadership and saying, hey, there's a problem. What can we do about it? Moshe then gets to view the land. He's never going to enter into it. So God takes him up onto a mountain and says, here, kid, this is what you're going to be missing. And he wants to appoint a successor. And so he does. He appoints Joshua because he doesn't want to leave the people leaderless. He wants to make sure that the next generation leader is in place before he dies. And the Torah, the Parsha ends with repetition of the sacrifices for daily sacrifices, Shabbat, for the new moon, for Pesach, Shavuot, and for the day the horn is sounded, Yom Teruah, which is Rosh Hashanah, but it's not called Rosh Hashanah in the Torah. Yom HaKippurim, Sukkot, and Shmini Atzeret. This week there are 6 positive mitzvot, and that brings our total up to 405 mitzvot thus far in the Torah. And that is your Torah portion in a nutshell. SCOTUS, right? The Supreme Court of the United States has been making news left and right. And some of it's good, some of it's bad, some of it, doesn't really affect us. But there were 2 cases that really will affect Jews, believe it or not. The first one was Graf versus DePaul. And Graf is a fellow who didn't want to work on the Sabbath. Well, his Sabbath, which is Sunday. And he worked for the Postal Service. And he actually quit his job over this, and this is what led to the suit. And the justice of the Supreme Court went back and overturned or revisited a ruling of TWA versus Hardison. All right, so the argument is now, if you are a religious person and you don't want to work on Shabbat, or you don't want to work on a holiday, up until this point, if the employer could show even a modicum of a burden, a very minor burden with you not working, then the employer was off the hook. They could make you work. Now it's no. They've taken that buffer away. Now the employer has to show a significant damage or a significant loss with you not being there for that period or for that day, right? So if you are a hamburger flipper at a burger joint, the boss can't say the business will fold if you don't come in on your holiday. And this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Before it was the employer could dictate what time, when you could get off, and if they wanted to give you Shabbat off or or not. And so this is an interesting deal. It does affect Jews because a lot of businesses are open on Shabbat, and some Jews are uncomfortable working on Shabbat. And I'm just getting a list of rabbis so we can go to the Supreme Court and say, why do we have to work on Shabbat? Well, we're going to lose. But the idea is that in this one case, and it's not often that it happens, it was 9-0, right? All 9 justices signed off on this, and they pretty much all agreed. The second case, 303 Creative versus Alanus. Now, this is an interesting decision, right? A woman files a suit saying that somebody asked her to design a website for 2 men who wanted to get married. And, you know, she wants to be a good Christian woman, and she says, well, that's against my belief. All right, so that goes to this court, to that court. They all kind of, you know, bounce it around. And then ultimately it gets to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court 6-3 says that 303 Creative has the right to not necessarily discriminate, but to say to gay people, I am not going to do this creative work for you. And instead of couching it in a religious decision, they talk about free speech, that having to create a website for a gay couple is somehow a violation of her freedom of speech. Now, Hoyt, I see you smiling and shaking your head. Yes, you're as incredulous as I am. But here's the point. Here's the punchline, right? There was no case. There was no individual who asked this woman to build the website. There was no argument about it. In fact, when the guy's name that was part of the suit, when the press finally got in touch with him after all this, you know, source back and forth, they found out a couple of interesting things. 1, he's straight. 2, he's married. 3, he is a web designer. And 4, he had no idea his name was being used in this lawsuit. And yet the Supreme Court felt it, oh my goodness, we have to make sure that this poor woman is protected over a case that never existed. What gets me on this is, okay, right? But we know this. This is a case that came up in Colorado, right? Somebody didn't want to make a wedding cake or something, and that was right. So here's my question, friends. After Shabbat, I'm going to pass the hat, and we're going to open a bakery. And the first Christian who comes in and asks for a baptism cake or something, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, but you're an idol worshiper, and it's against my religion to serve you. And let's see how far that goes. How long the bakery lasts before they burn it down. Because that's exactly what the court says certain people can say to gays and lesbians, and maybe even Jews, maybe even blacks. Who knows how far this is going to carry? This is a ridiculous case that shouldn't have gone to the Supreme Court. And the fact that it landed there and 6 justices took it seriously shows that they're not interested in justice. They're interested in peeling back LGBTQ plus rights. And now when I say about the bakery, I am serious about it. I would love to see a Jewish organization, a Jewish bakery, a Jewish grocery store actually not want to serve somebody who comes in and asks for a baptism cake or a confirmation cake or a Christian wedding cake. Simply saying, well, it's against my religion to, we won't even call them idolaters, Shabbos violators, people who don't take Shabbat seriously. I can't do business with you. How long before I, as the bakery owner, get in trouble? But it's all right to say to gays or lesbians or to anybody else you don't like, but gotta think, I don't think that the Supreme Court thinks these things through. Because I would love it. I would absolutely love it if some poor chassid decided he was gonna sell meat to non-Jews. I would love it. Tom.
Well, just to give you a slightly different view on this, as a business person, I can remember at least 2 instances where I had the opportunity to take on a project that I thought was borderline illegal, and if not borderline illegal, it was, in my mind, it was shady, and I turned down the business. And so when I saw this come up, that was the premise that I was sort of more interested in. And, I mean, I don't know that there's a perfect answer, and of course, I'm astonished that anyone would, would make up a case and that sort of thing. But there is an issue of whether or not a business is obligated to take on a project just because someone wants them to take on a project.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can, I mean, seriously, the web designer, if this were a real case, could have said, I don't design wedding websites. That's it. I mean, I don't care. I don't do it. But instead it was, and the fact that nobody even approached her. That was the thing.
That
Right.
turned into a drama, and I certainly don't think that's,
And the fact that the Supreme Court took it, 40 years ago, they would have been laughed out of the court. It wouldn't have made it that far. You know, Rehnquist, when he was in, would have thrown a gavel at them or something. And
40 years ago was before CNN, and we wouldn't have known anything about it.
also true. Also true. I mean,
How could they not throw it out because they lied?
have you been following how many justices are in the pockets of billionaires?
Yes.
That's why.
I want to shed some light on this, that it's not getting reported. The people who were trying to help out the people who were like trying to assist the gay lesbian argument in this case, screwed up the case. Because they stipulated to a bunch of facts they should not have stipulated to. And that lost the case because the majority said, well, they stipulated to this. They said it was speech. No, it wasn't speech, but the idiot stipulated to it. It was bad lawyering.
Also, some of the big money behind the web designer comes from an anti-Semitic group with kind of Nazi-ish ties.
You know?
So, I mean, it's I don't know. I'd be interested to see how this plays out. But anybody who wants to go into the bakery business with me, just to see how far we can push this, let me know. Or if you want to sign on to my suit about how rabbis working on Shabbat, I mean, well,
You would have to demonstrate that what you do is work first.
that's true. That's true. That's true. Come up here and do it. I'll sit down.
You think that me being on stage is work?
No, that actually, seriously, the thing about rabbis and working on Shabbat has been handled in multiple places in our literature. It's not considered work. The fact that rabbis get a salary does not mean that we're getting paid to lead services on Shabbat. We're getting paid for all the other things we do during the week.
Here in and this is before your time in Ohio, but there was a company in Columbus called Schottenstein's. And there was blue law there, couldn't be open on Sunday. Schottenstein said, why does that affect us? And they changed I think that was the point at which they changed the blue law, because then for a while Schottenstein was allowed to be open on Sundays if they closed on Saturday. So I think that's been wrestled with.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole idea of Shabbat. I mean that was one of the reasons why the blue laws went away in a lot of communities, is because Jews refused to open on Shabbat and be closed refused to be open on Shabbat and would close on Sunday, and that didn't sit well with some people because it's our Sabbath. Yeah, but what about our Sabbath? Which, yeah. So, but
But there also was a Jewish grocery store, but if they were open on Saturday, that store was not kosher.
So we start fighting among ourselves.
Yeah, well,
But anyway, they closed on Saturday and we're open on Sunday.
Yeah, there are things like that. There are also, in corporations, there are all sorts of halakhic loopholes that allow people who have very big businesses or whatever, and they cannot shut down on Saturday or a holiday, that they sign the business over to their non-Jewish partner or whatever for that period of time. And so technically they don't own the business. It allows places like Hadassah Hospital to function in a way. But I mean, hospitals are one thing, it usually falls under Pikuach Nefesh, but there's enough things that are not that way. Some of the bigger corporations, and I do know that there was one, I forget where it was on Long Island, a place that for 6 days a week was run and owned by Jews. And on the Saturday, it was run by a non-Jew and had a bunch of non-Jewish workers. I mean, so you can get creative. But with the Supreme Court with this one, this is interesting now because now the onus is off of the person saying, I want to observe my Sabbath. And the business now has to show that they will take a big hit if that person is not there. We live in an interesting world. All right. Kiddush for Friday night. I don't have anybody to remind me. Dennis, what time is it? Kiddush time.
7.
Kiddush time.
Right, Kaddish, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
All
that's it,
right.
that's it.
Please rise.
I got some
Vayhi
stuff.
Erev Vayhi Boker Yom HaShlishi Vaychulu Hashamayim Ba'aretz V'chol Tzivam Vaychal Elohim Bayom HaShvi Melachto Asher Asa Vayishbot Bayom HaShvi Mikol Melachto Asher Asa Vayavarech Elohim Et Yom HaShvi Vaykadesh Oto Kivo Shabbat Mikol Melachto Asher Bara Elohim La'asot Savri Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Borei Peri Hagafen Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Kiddushanu Mitzvotav V'Ratzavanu V'Shabbat Kodsho V'Ahava U'Ratzon Inchilanu Zikaron L'Maaseh Bereshit Pihu Yom Tefillah L'Mikra'ei Kodesh Zecher L'Tziat Mitzrayim Kivanu Bacharta V'Yotanu Kidashta Mikol Ha'amim V'Shabbat Kodshecha V'Ahava U'Ratzon Inchaltanu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh Hashabbat. All right, please remain standing and turn to page 282 as we begin to close out our service. Aleinu. Aleinu l'shameach l'adon ha'kol l'tein gedula liyotzeh b'reshit shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'nama shelo sam kelkeinu kahem v'gor aleinu amonam anachnu orim Umishkachavim u'modim Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Notei Shamayim V'Yosei Haaretz U'Moshe V'Yikaro B'Shamayim Imav U'Shmi Natuso V'Gov Hei Merohim Hu Eloheinu Echad, Eloheinu Echesulato, Nakatu V'Torato, Yadata Hayom Ve'Hashemota,
Elemecha, Ki Adonai hu Elohim, Bashamayim b'mav, V'al haaretz, V'hi tachat Einu. Kakatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch li'olam toed, v'nehemar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz, vayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, Shemo, Ushemo Echad. May be seated. We have entered into the Shloshim period for John Lentz and for Fred Weisberg. This week we observed the following yard sites: Josephine Carnes, Joanne Gellen's mother, Sylvia Supovitz, Lynn Mayer's mother, Max Alfred Hassel, related to Sarah Hassel, Pauline's cousin, Noel David Bihar, Tori Witcher's younger brother, Lake A. Brown, Edna Baker, and Irvin Brown's brother, Herb Kolker, Betty's husband, father to Larry, Stephen, David, and Deborah, Matt and Lee Kolker's uncle, Mark Barvin, Martha Weisberg Barvin's husband, son-in-law of Joan and Art, Vicki Rosalind Kalfus, Barbara Silverstein's sister, Janie Sampson Breskin, relative of Fred Ziffer, Ian S. Miller, relative of Tony Schoenfeld Miller, Helen White, relative of Valerie. May their souls be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May their memories be a blessing to us all, and may they always rest in peace.
Amen, amen.
Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shmei Rabbah, Be'alma, Yivrach, Yirtei, Yamlik, Malchutei, Be'chayei Chod, Be'omei Chod, U'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalah, B'zman Kariv, V'yivru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah, Vorach, Le'olam, Olamei Almaya. V'yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitkar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, Shmei, Shah, Richu. Le'elam, Minkol, Birchata, V'shivata. Tushbachata, V'nechamata. La'amiram, Be'alma, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama, Rabbah, Min Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom, Yirumav. U'yaseh Shalom. Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. You may be seated. All right, friends, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. Just a couple of quick announcements, Mr. President. You got some announcements?
Sure. Here, come up.
What? It's up to you. Oh, you come up so I can sit down. There you go.
There you go. All right. It's okay.
Sorry.
Just a flesh wound. So it's nothing. Come on, fight. So you got that, and if you didn't, that's okay. So tomorrow we have services at 10 a.m. Sunday services at 9 a.m. The Yiddish choir at 7 by Zoom on Wednesday. Next
Tuesday.
week, what?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. It's a Tuesday.
No, Thursday is the board meeting.
Tuesday is the board meeting. Tuesday is the board meeting at 6 p.m. There will be a link for that if you can't attend in person, but attend in person because it's more fun when we're all together. Anything else? I think that's it, right?
Oh, it's a quiet week, yeah.
Okay. Well, great.
But the board meeting is a big thing. You want to remind them of the project?
Oh, yes. So if you haven't heard, we are going to be having a cultural festival next year. It'll be during the week of Israeli independence in May. We will be celebrating all things Jewish, and the idea is to promote what we do and in the community and have a presence. And I'm going to be working with other people. I've reached out to Andrew Schneider at Fairness, West Virginia. I hope to be talking to the mayor. And if anybody has an interest in working on that, hit me up or let me know.
All right, well, that works for
That's
me.
fair.
Yep. July is a big month in my family. It was my dad's birthday, my mom's birthday, and my grandmother, my maternal grandmother's birthday, all in July. And this coming week would be my dad's birthday and my mom's birthday, July 10th and 11th. And so, yeah, I'm kind of grateful that all the birthdays kind of happened. My other grandmother was in June, so June and July got rid of everybody, and then my brother and me, we were just March and September. So, but a lot of good things happening. 10 weeks to the high holidays. Just letting you know, just so it shouldn't be a surprise. All right, let's close out our service on 321. Adon Olam. Adon Olam Asher Malach. בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל. לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד בשם שני. להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא עלי וחי גואלי, בצור הבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו עתיד רוחי. V'eti shan v'yahira, v'im ruchi geviati, Adonai li v'lo hira. Oh, it looks like we have plenty of people saying hello to us on the intertubes this evening. Let's see. David Brackman, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. Thank you, David. I hope all is well in Manchester, England. That's how far we reach. Donna Wilson, Shabbat Shalom, and everyone. I'm sorry, Shabbat Shalom to everyone on this gorgeous Shabbat. Thank you, Donna. Same to you. Bella Robinson, Shabbat Shalom and good Shabbos. Thank you, Bella. And there's Mom. Shabbat Shalom to all from Rabbi's Mom and Cliff. Wishing all a peaceful weekend and a great week ahead. And yes, Mom, thank you, you and Cliff, and happy birthday to you. All right, friends, we got a bunch of things going on. Please join us for any and all of them. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. And please be careful out there.
Good service, thank you.